Hello and welcome to the MIAKODA Glacier Winter Bead Kit tutorial. We are just going to hop right into this right now as I don't have a lot of time to explain what I'm doing right here. So we're going to take your bags of porcupine quills and carefully, without squeezing the bag because you will poke yourself, shake the quills out onto the table and pick out the ones that you want to use for your project. You're going to need 13 per side. So just take maybe 5 out at a time, like you see me doing here. Make sure that you have the black barbs all facing the same side and stab them into any sort of scrap fabric that you have laying around. You can also use a paper towel, or else you can use the piece of wool that I have the beading needles on. That's another nice place to do it. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to clip off those barbs. And then on the other side is where you're going to cut how long you want your quills to be. So however long you want your quills to be, you're going to cut them on the white side, like you see me doing right there. And then you will repeat that process until you have all of your quills ready for the next step. So now what you see me doing here is I am taking my thread and I put it through the eye of the needle, and you always want to remember to wax your thread. So you're going to pull about an arm's length of thread and clip it off of that bobbin that I gave you, and you're going to run it through the beeswax. You're going to do that maybe 1 or 2 passes through just to get a nice coat, like you see me doing right here. I'm just kind of pinching it between the wax and my thumb and just pulling it across, getting a nice coat. And anytime you're beading, you always want your thread to be waxed. Now the next step is we're going to take our big bead that I placed in your kit, and you're going to pass it through all the way to the end of the string, and then you're going to go back up like you see me doing right here. And this is going to act as like our stopper. So just get that stopper on there, and then the next step is going to be starting our square stitch. So as you see, you'll be looking at your bead pattern that you have. I was referring to the earring that I just made. But what you're going to do is you're going to pick up the first row of beads where you see me pointing at. That is the first row. So the first row is going to be solid black, and you're going to pick up 17 black size 9 beads. So here I am, I'm picking up my 17 black size 9 beads. And I am going to string them down to the base by the red bead, or by your big bead, whichever one I leave you with. I just leave you with a big bead so that it stands out and it's a nice stopper at the end. Now you're going to string the second row. Well, you're going to do the first 2 beads. So the second row is going to be the one that starts with a black, and then it goes white, gold, white, black. So you're going to be taking a black bead and a white bead, and you're going to take from the top, as you see me doing in this video right here, you're going to pass back up through those 2 black beads. You see how I did that? So I came back up those 2 black beads, and now I'm going to go back down through the beads that we just strung, the black and the white one. And that is exactly what you're going to do this entire time, but you're just going to follow the pattern down. So the next beads that we're picking up is a gold bead and a white bead. And I apologize if I keep saying gold and brass at the same time. I wrote gold in the description, but sometimes I call them brass. So just whenever I'm saying gold or brass, I mean the gold beads that are in your kit. So you're going to pick those up, and then do you see how I'm passing through just those 2? When I go back down, I'm just going back down through the gold bead and the white bead. So it's all starting to weave really nicely together. So now I'm going to pick up my next two beads, which are a black bead and a silver bead, and I'm going to go up the next two beads in the first row, and then I'm going to pass back down those. I hope you guys can see how I'm doing this right here. You only want to be passing up and down the row that you're working on. You don't want to be going all the way up and back down. And if you really wanted to, you could do 3 beads at a time, but I like to do 2 because it keeps it nice and tight. So that's why I'm only picking up 2 beads at a time. But there is a point at the bottom where it's an odd number, so you can choose to either pick up 2 beads or you could do 3 beads and then do the 1 at the end. So you guys, this is how you do a square stitch. It's super simple. Once you get the hang of how to read it, how to read the pattern, it's just the same thing over and over again. So I will walk you through one more row, and then I'm gonna let you complete the pattern. You're just gonna follow row by row from left to right, and I will meet you at the next step, which is gonna be the fringe. But first I'll hang on here and I'll talk to you about the next row. I'm gonna speed up this one right here so that we can go to the third one. All right, so now we are on the third row, and the only difference is instead of reading the pattern from top to bottom, we're going to be reading it from the bottom to the top because we are at the bottom of the pattern. So now the next step is we're going to be grabbing our first 2 beads from the bottom. But like I said, there's an odd number, so you could actually pick up 3 if you want to. Let's see what I do right here. Okay, so I am passing through those 3. And whatever you decide to do, if you decide to pass through, do the 1 pass or the 2, just make sure you're doing it consistently throughout the rest of the earring. Because you don't want to see the different, like you'll see the little loops kind of, and so you don't really want to make it look all warped. So that's it, you guys. So now we're just reading the pattern from the bottom up to the top, and we're going to complete this row. You see how that cross is starting to come into, it's starting to form. It's kind of awkward in the beginning with like the first row or 2 because of how thin and wobbly it is. But the further across you go, it ends up being easier and easier because of just, how thick it is, and it's just getting, it just becomes more stable. So yeah, I'm just reading that pattern. Now I'm going to start, I just picked up the 3 black beads. Well, I have the black beads on there, and now I'm doing another star, or cross, I'm sorry. So you're going to pick up the brass bead, and then you're going to pick up the silver bead. And then we're coming back down. And then I'll do a brass bead and a black bead. A gold bead and a black bead. Sorry, you guys. All right, so now I am just going to let you guys keep going with the pattern. If you get confused, just pause the video and rewind it from the beginning and just start over with watching me do the steps, because all you're doing is the same exact stitch, starting with row 1 all the way to row 13, and depending on if you left off from the top of the row or the bottom of the row, that is how you're going to read the pattern. So Just keep watching it over and over again until you understand how to read the pattern. And I promise you'll pick it up. Once it clicks, it's so easy and it's so fun, and you can do like a million different things with this square stitch. So it's a really great technique to learn, and it just looks super cool. So just get your square done, and I will meet you at part 2, well, at section 2 for the fringe. Okay, so once you get to the center, once you get the middle cross finished, you're gonna weave your needle up over to one of the sides of that cross up on the top, and this is where we're gonna add our loop for our earring hook. So one of those two wings, either the east or the west row, not the center row of the cross, but the east or the west, whichever one you want to come up. You see how I'm lined up right there? We're going to pick up 6 black size 9 beads, and then we're going to pass through the other one. So I went up on the east side, or on the west side, and now I'm coming down on the east side, if that makes sense. And you see how I just made that little loop with those beads? So now I'm going to be just passing back up through the center, or just wherever however you can get back to that row that we just went through, that loop that we just made. And we're going to be passing our needle up around that loop, and we're going to do it a couple times so that it's nice and secure. And that is how we are making our ear loops. So just keep passing up and down. And in this next section right here, I'm going to be showing you how to tie off your string, as well as tying a new one back on. So once you get done with this, I'm sure your string is going to be pretty short. So you're going to want to start a fresh one. So just pass back up and down, and just take a break for a second here and watch the next step so that you know how to tie off this string and start a new one. Okay, so I am sneaking in a new video right here, just a little clip, because I forgot I wanted to show you guys what to do if your string breaks, or if you want to tie off and start a new string. Just basically how to pick up from where you left off. So right now, as you see me doing, I only have like 2 rows here. But this is for however many rows there are that you're working with. All you're going to do is pass up, back and forth a few times. See how I'm kind of just passing back and forth, up and down? That's to secure the string that I have that I want to get rid of in place. And then wherever I end up wanting to cut it off, I'm just going to take my scissors and do that. It doesn't have to be at the end of a project. It could just be like in the middle of a project. You just start snipping it flush against the beads. And at the end, you'll take your lighter and you'll light those threads so you don't even see them anyways. Now what you're going to do is figure out where you want to proceed. So I want my needle to go up through where I want to start working on my project again. So do you see how I'm pinching the string on the bottom right here? So I am going to keep that tension, and then I am passing the needle just like I did before, back and forth, enough times to get a nice tension. And you can go whichever directions you want to go. And you can go up and down through as many beads as you want to. Normally I do like 2 to 4 beads, and this goes for any type of beadwork that you're doing. This is how you'll tie on and off your strings in between projects. So now I'm just going to go back up, and that is plenty of times to pass through. And you're just going to clip your strings I accidentally pulled part of that other one out, but it's not going anywhere. So I'm just going to clip that off. And then that's how you will proceed with that's how you'll continue your project. So I'll see you at the fringe. All right, so I accidentally started beading this first row without recording. So it's the same exact thing for each one. Basically, you want to make sure that you are starting out on whichever side you feel like starting from. Normally, I just go from left to right. And you're going to look at your pattern that I sent you with, and you're going to count how many beads you're going to be picking up. So for this first section, we're going to be picking up well, we're on the second row right now. But if you were on the first row, you'd be picking up 10 solid black beads. But since you're on the second row, you're going to be picking up 1 silver and then 9 black beads. And stringing those on, and then you're going to pick up a silver and a gold. And now what you're going to do is you're going to grab your porcupine quill, and you can face it whichever way you want. This is your project, so you can make them as unique as you want to. I always like to have the black part facing down. So you're just going to pick up your porcupine quill and gently pass it through that needle. And I like to grip the porcupine quill from the bottom and then pull it down instead of from the top, because you don't want to, stab your finger, and you also it just ends up helping it to slide through easier. And that's all you're going to do, you guys. You're just going to keep following that pattern down, counting how many of each color bead you need to pick up to complete that row. And yeah, that is how you do the fringe. Now at the bottom of the pattern, I have a blue color, and that is representing the black beads, but I put see tutorial on there. And that's because instead of, basically that's where those are the 3 beads that you're going to be looping around as like a finishing edge. You see how on the bottom it's kind of like a little triangle or like a little half flower. So I'll wait until I pick up these beads, and I will walk you through what I'm talking about. So just continue picking up your beads until you have until you get to the blue section. So I'm picking them up, and I have to pick up 1 black, 1 brass tube, a black, and then a small diamond cut bead. Okay, so that's where we're gonna pay attention here. So we got the blue section now. So we're picking up 3 black beads. The blue section is 3 black beads. And this is where we are going to be passing back up through that small diamond cut bead, and we're passing back up the whole string, making sure that we're not exiting out of those beads at any point, that your string is completely hidden, and that you can't see that you're passing back up through. So you're just going to work your way up, and that is how you finish the fringe, and you work your way up to the top. So see how I'm just passing through nice and easy through that quill? Be careful not to poke yourself with your needle. And you're just going to come up, and then come up through that, like the first couple beads on the square stitch that you just came down, and then you're going to pass over to the second or to the next row. So just watch what I'm doing here. So do you see how I'm kind of working the string? You kind of want to be tugging at the bottom on the, the blue section of those black beads. You want to kind of give a nice tension and just make sure that nothing's too tight and the beads just are laying nice and there's no gaps where the string is exposed. And actually right here, you guys, I am showing you how to pass through and start a new string again. So you see how I kind of just wove through there? Now I just clipped it off. And now I'm going to just take a new string and tie it on. I also pulled off my red bead because it's just not necessary to have it there anymore. And yeah, so you're just going to tie on a new string. Walk you through this again so you can see it. Well, here I'm tying off the red bead, the leftover thread. So you're going to just do exactly what you're going to be doing for tying on a new string. You're just going to be passing through a few rows of beads, doing it a few times just to get a nice loop going so that there's tension and that string isn't going anywhere. And then you're going to clip it off. Be careful not to clip any of your other strings, but there you go. And now we're going to tie on the new string. So I'll walk you through that one more time. And then I'm going to fast forward and we're going to go and do the bottom section one more time. Okay, so you see how I just entered through wherever I wanted, but I was figuring out where exactly I wanted to be passing down again. So don't just like go in the middle of your project. You want to be kind of around the area of where you're going to be pushing through that row again. So I'm just holding the end of that thread so it doesn't slip through while I make my loops. And then I'm making my loops. And I am coming down through that third row. And I like to tug it like you saw to make sure that there's enough tension. And then I'm going to clip off that tail. And I'm just going to proceed like normal. I'm going to speed up this process of picking up the third row of beads. All you're doing is following your pattern. Make sure to follow it carefully so you make sure that you're picking up the right beads because the rows change frequently. And I will see you at the bottom right here so we can work on passing back up again. Okay, so we are at the bottom and we just picked up our last diamond cut bead for that row. And now we're going to pick up the 3 black beads that are represented on the key by the blue. So we got those picked up. And all we're doing is just passing back up through those beads that we just strung, starting with the tiny diamond cut brass bead. Make sure that your string is not exposed by those beads, like that your needle doesn't come out and wrap around a bead. You will notice if it happens, and it's so annoying when you have to go back and unstring it to hide it again. So just make sure that you are watching all of your steps and that they're all going correct so that you don't have to take a bunch of beads off and start all over again. So just pass through those quills carefully and then just go back up just like you were before and start on row number 4. So this is exactly what you're going to be doing for the entire rest of this project. And at the end, you're going to just tie off like you normally do, how I showed you those few times in the video. And that is how you're going to complete your set of Glacier winter earrings. At the end, you are also going to add a ear hook, where you just take some pliers, or I even will use my hand sometimes, like my nail, and you just want to twist that earring wire on there and hook it around that black loop. Um, I have a little tip for you guys for when you complete them. I like when things lay very stiff, and I cannot stand when my beadwork curls. And you'll notice if you guys do beadwork and you haven't learned this little technique before, when it curls, it's like it's not even about like how tight you're wrapping it. It just sometimes it's just the beads and stuff, and they just curl throughout time. So what I like to do is I will take clear nail polish. So I'll get a thing of clear nail polish, just any kind, just like OPI or a cheap one, whatever you got, just make sure it's clear. And you are going to take the back side of your work. So whatever side whatever side you don't want facing the front, you can't see it anyways. I just like to do it on the back side. I just go through and I add some clear nail polish on the back, and once you let it dry and it hardens, it stays like that forever. I have a pair of huge, they're like 27 rows wide. They are gigantic and they're super heavy and they're so beautiful, but I only wear them on special occasions because of how big they are. But I have these big dog sled ones that I made, and those are, if I did not have that clear nail polish on there, they would just curl up and look so silly. So they still, after, I think I made them, it was maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago, I forget. I'm pretty sure it was last winter. Yeah, since then, they still are just in perfect condition. And so the clear nail polish really works. So any of your beaded earrings that curl, just use the clear nail polish. And yeah, you guys, I'm just going to let you finish on with this project. I hope you had so much fun making it, and I hope that this was a really easy tutorial for you and that I'm explaining it correctly. If there's any constructive criticism that you have for me on things that you'd like me to explain better or differently, please feel free to email me, as I'm always wanting to make these tutorials just the best that I possibly can for you guys. I'm not a professional teacher. I just love what I do, and I've been doing it for a long time. So this is just me, sharing those techniques with you. So I really hope you enjoy, and I would love to see the photos of you guys with your earrings on or your finished pieces. Just email me or tag me on Instagram. And yeah, I hope to see you in another bead kit. All right, well, have a great day and God bless. Bye. Okay, so I'm always a little bit ahead of myself. Sorry, guys. But I just wanted to come on here and show you. I forgot I did record this part. So you're going to add your hooks. You see how I did it with the round nose plier, but you can do it with your hand as well. You don't want to be pulling the circle, like you don't want to be pulling the loop of the wire out. You want to be pushing it to the side so that when you close it, it's easy to, just add, or it doesn't like make a gap to where it can slide off the earring, if that makes sense. And so now the next step that you're going to do is just the finishing touch of lighting off of the strings. So I'm looking for my lighter right now. Sorry, I always seem out of breath. I'm very pregnant as I'm recording this, and my daughter is she's taking over my tummy and my lungs. But yeah, so you're going to just take your lighter, any exposed threads that you see, just very quickly just tap on those threads with the fire. See how that one's sticking out? Just very lightly, because you don't want to be burning any of your weaving threads. And that's how you finish them off. And then add that clear nail polish, and you guys, you got yourself a gorgeous piece of Glacier earrings. Oh wow, I even have the nail polish in here. I totally forgot. I recorded this a couple weeks ago, and then I I am editing and recording the video, like the voiceover and stuff. So I'm really happy that I was able to show this. So this is what I do. I take my clear nail polish, just kind of brush it over. I like to be generous with it. I don't like to just do a soft coat because I feel like it needs to get past the beads and into those woven threads. And you honestly, you guys, I put a lot on. I even put it on the top. Not to where it's a globbing mess, but just, just don't be conservative with your nail polish. Make sure it's nice and soaked in there. Let it dry and enjoy yourself a pair of Glacier winter earrings.